What is up? You're listening to the Daughter's Diary podcast, but this one is not just about Daughter's Diary in quotes. We're talking about casting vision today. So, casting vision. Casting vision is actually my husband Brandon and I's newest book that we published together. And I am so excited, so happy, so blessed to really have this project done. It's amazing. So some backstory is Brandon and I do what we call a vision retreat for our marriage. And yes, thank you so much, Jimmy Evans, because this was something we learned that we needed to do before we were actually married. And so we listened to podcasts and sermons, and Marriage Today in specific encouraged this. And so we started doing them, I think probably since the first year we were married. We started doing the marriage retreat, and it's a beautiful thing. It's an intentional pulling away from just everything going on and saying we're going to take days to just focus on us. And it takes work. It takes work. There's only so much I want to share here, because if you go to Brandon and I's podcast more time, you'll hear more about marriage and retreats and planning and all of that. And so, long story short, we do a marriage retreat, and we kept thinking, man, like there's got to be some resources to kind of help with this. And we didn't really find a lot. And the beauty in writing and creating your own book and different things is that you get to put what God puts on your heart onto paper. And so even if we found tons of resources on marriage retreats and casting vision, they wouldn't be what God wants us to share about marriage retreats and casting vision. And so, suffice it to say, we really felt like God was leading us down this road to do this and publish our book, Casting Vision. So we've actually been working on it for probably a year, and it's just beautiful. I'm so excited about it because, number one, if you don't know this, Brandon used to say he didn't like to read. And I think I've probably shared this before. I don't understand what that means. It bothers me when people say that, because I think that you can like to read as long as you are reading what's interesting to you. So, but that's neither here nor there. But he used to say that. And I think he's like grown to have a like for reading. And so this is so beautiful, because you have someone who's saying, I don't even like to read, who just wrote a book. And it's awesome to me. Just a little aside I wanted to put out there. But the beauty in this book and this project is that it's something that we got to do together. And it's something that we just see God's hand in and want to continue to encourage others to do. And so the marriage retreat guide is really to just encourage you to get away with your spouse, to plan for your marriage. Like, other than your relationship with Jesus Christ, the most important relationship you have is a relationship you have with your spouse. And so we want to make sure that you understand how important it is, and how important it is to get away to plan for the most important relationship in your life. And to us, if the idea of getting away with your spouse for 2 to 3 days and talking about marriage, honestly, talking about each other, talking about next steps, talking about your future, talking about your finances, talking about your work, your career, your goals, your dating, etc. Like, If something about that makes you feel like rolling your eyes or saying, I don't want to do that, then that's got to be addressed because there really shouldn't be anyone you more look forward to getting away with than your spouse. And to me, that is like a for sure sign that you probably need to have a vision retreat to get away and talk about God's vision for your marriage. So a lot of times people are like, well, why do we need to do that? Like, we're already married. Yeah, but literally in every other area in our lives, we tend to want to have a vision or a next step. Like people who are, trying to do well in their career have another step they want to get to. People who, want finances to be in order have a step they want to take to get their finances in order. Like people who want to own a home one day or do anything, like we have a next step that we want to get to. Why is it so weird to want to get away to plan for your next steps at the level you want to get to for your marriage? Again, it's the most important relationship you have outside of your relationship with Jesus Christ. It's the most important decision I personally think that you will make outside of making the decision to follow Jesus Christ. So why do we not put as much time investing in our marriages as we do into every single thing else? It just doesn't make sense. And so this book is just to help you walk through this opportunity. I'm going to be honest. There were times where we couldn't get away and go to a hotel for a couple of days to plan. And what we did was just created a space at home where no phones, no work, no cleaning up the house, but made the house feel like a vacation space. Like the Lord really made our home feel like a vacation space so that we could focus on casting vision. And yes, it is work. We talk about the budget. We talk about dating. We talk about healthy relationships and joining church and small group and all these things. A lot of these things that it's so fun to sit back and think about we've discussed and see where we are now from where we started with it. And so it's not all work and no play. Like we take this time and we go and we date. We each plan a date and what we're going to do. Sometimes it's golf. That's actually how I finally learned to play golf. We were on a vision retreat, and one thing Brandon really wanted to do was go play golf, and he taught me how to play golf. We take this time, like I said, to remember. So we just remember dating and why we love each other and things we did and how God brought us together. We take this time to make sure we're on one accord in God, like intentionally focusing on each other and focusing on what God wants to do in our relationship. We learn from our past. Like we take this time to say, hey, that didn't work or that did work. How did we fail in this area? How did we succeed in this area? What can we do better next time? We measure it. Again, as I said, like it's so cool to go back and look at the things that you've been able to accomplish and highlight the improvement that you've made throughout the years. Like it's one of our favorite things, honestly. One of the most difficult discussions is finances, but one of our favorite things that we do is when we look at giving and how that has increased by God's favor and grace and mercy and wisdom to steward well. And so that's one of our favorite things to celebrate. We celebrate the healthy relationships we have now and small groups that we're in as a sense of measurement as well. So we celebrate the wins, big and small. And we just focus on being intentional. We take this time to intentionally hear one another, focus on each other, and simply just date each other. Because honestly, we know when we get back, life continued to take place. Life didn't stop because we went on a marriage retreat. But we know we need this time. And if we're kind of catty with one another, we know we need this time. And so this book is all of that encompassed. Casting Vision, a marriage retreat guide by Brandon and Chanel Moore. So you can get copies on Amazon. You can reach out to me, daughtersalways at gmail.com. moretimefficial.com. You can reach out to moretimefficial@outlook.com to get copies. You can text the podcast to inquire about getting copies. But we just enjoy this. We enjoy talking about casting vision and encouraging people to cast vision. And I will say this, I've had people who said, I'm not married. It doesn't matter. We read marriage books. Well, I read marriage books, but we listened to marriage podcasts and sermons and all of that before we were married. Why did we do that? Because we wanted to know as much as we could about marriage, or have tools that we needed for marriage before we got married. We needed to understand that there are going to be things that we're not going to understand about each other. There are going to be things that we need to bend on that are just affected by how we were raised. We needed all the tools of marriage that we could get before being married. And we continue to look at books and read books and podcasts and listen and all that stuff so that we can continue to have those tools. And so I would say, yes, get a book, even if you're not married, just so that it can be things to talk about. And you might have married friends who you could say, hey, have you thought about doing this? Have you considered this? And it's just some nuggets from the book that you are thinking about sharing. And so I am thrilled to share that this book is ready to rock and roll. And I am blessed to share this opportunity with my husband, Brandon Moore. Nothing short of amazing. And so one thing that I want to leave you with, which is a quote from the book, is this question: where to? And in the book, it says, where to? That's the question. Not just on the surface, meaning like not just where are you going to do your retreat at, where are you going to, what's the hotel, what's the location, but in your marriage, in your life, where are you going? Where are you going? And Brandon uses this awesome analogy where he says, sit down together and both of you write down your dream vacation. Don't share it, just write it down. And then share it with one another after a couple minutes. If you both came to each other and said, we're going on our dream vacation, I'll meet you there, you might have two different destinations that you're going to. How can that be possible? Because you're two very unique people made by God. And your definitions of a dream vacation could be very different, which is why you need to come together to plan where you're going so that you don't show up in two different places. And that's exactly why it is so important to have your marriage retreat and to cast vision so that you're not ending up in different destinations apart from one another, not doing what God called you to do together. Casting Vision, a marriage retreat guide. Thank you for your time. Till next time. You've been listening to the Daughter's Diary podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. For more information, you can visit our website at www.achanelmore.com. There, you'll find blogs, a store, more podcasts, and tips. Thank you for your time.